This week on 24 Frames, members of the 501st Legion tell us all about the good that the dark side can do. We talk with Texas Tech's own Dr. Mark Charney about being an honorary Actors Hall of Fame inductee. Think you have what it takes to escape the room entrapped? A new interactive game here in Lubbock. And finally, Benton Leachman plays Desire off his new album, Bury the Hatchet. 24 Frames starts right now.
I saw Star Wars in a drive-in theater when I was about 3 years old. It's the first time I remember going to the movies, and it just blew me away. I had a deep and abiding lust for a Stormtrooper helmet that I saw at Coach House Gifts. I really wanted this clean, shiny, beautiful helmet. And that did not ever go away. I used to tell friends, if I had a Stormtrooper suit, I would wear it everywhere, all the time. My wife had gotten me a TIE Fighter pilot helmet for Christmas one year, and I wanted to finish the outfit. I just had the helmet, but I knew it needed hoses and a black suit and a chest plate and some other things. So I started researching on this newfangled internet thing, and I just felt so at home finding out that there were other grown people who also wanted to dress as plastic action figures.
Cruising on Sespa in my DeLorean. War's over, I'm a piece of Mandalorian. The story is some Star Wars historians deep in debate, but they play at Bennigan's.
Growing up, I always loved to build models, and at the same time, I also loved electronics. Plus, of course, loving science fiction, Star Wars, Star Trek, you name it. I was just a huge fan. So it was sort of the perfect project for me as an adult.
Not this past Halloween, but the previous one. I was actually given a ticket by someone who was in the 501st, Ian Wilkerson, for posing as a Jedi Knight in a Halloween costume in a contest, and that kind of inspired me to work on my costume, and it was this past September that I actually got approved and into the Rebel Legion.
To combine my love for building models with my love for electronics, with my love for science fiction, he was just the perfect project.
When I was a kid, I guess I would wear cardboard plates, would run around in a little flight suit that I had and pretend that I was Boba Fett.
I happened to just Google one day, build your own R2-D2, and stumbled across the Astromech site. And this is a group of builders, an international group of builders that work together to build screen-accurate astromechs, or in this case, R2-D2.
And for me personally, it's really neat because when I was about 5 or 6 years old, my mom took me to a department store. They had Darth Vader, and it was an actual Lucasfilm costume, you know, it was something touring around the country. So this is like the real Darth Vader as far as I knew at 6. And I was terrified and thrilled all at once. But now to be on the other side of that and to be the Stormtrooper and shaking little kids' hands and posing with them is just a great deal of fun.
That's not an option, can't say that with more clarity. Me going legit would be like Jar Jar with speech therapy. My backpacks got jets, well I'm Boba, well the vet, well I bounty hunt for Jabba Hutt to finance my vet, well I chill in deep space.
The 501st has done a lot of charity work historically.
Going through hospitals and giving children that aren't able to go out and have fun, bring the fun to them.
My first event as an official Stormtrooper was the Texas Boys Ranch.
Got to do the Barnes & Noble Star Wars Reads Day.
One of the first times I wore the armor out in public, I did a diabetes walk here in Lubbock.
The Children's Home of Lubbock, we got to go out and just kind of present R2 as well as some of the armor that the guys have built in the group.
The March of Dimes charity, the Star Wars supports that.
So pretty much any opportunity to go out, I really do enjoy getting a chance to get out there.
The founder of the 501st, Albin Johnson, decided they were going to start doing some of these like charity walk. They wouldn't take money. No, take that money and give it to Ronald McDonald House or give it to Walk for Autism or something like that. Albin's got a great heart, and I think it's his character that molded the organization into what it is today. Yeah, Lucasfilm is very generous with the 501st. The lore is that Lucasfilm's lawyers were gearing up to sue members of the 501st for representing their product, the Lucasfilm product, without authorization. And the story has it that Steve Sansweet was the new fan relations director. He heard about this plan, and he went running into Lucas's office and said, "You can't sue these guys, look at all they're doing." And George, Uncle George had never heard of us at that point, and learned about the organization, about the work for communities that we do. Once Lucas found out about us, he said, "These guys are great." When he got named as the Rose Bowl Parade Marshal in 2007, I believe, he personally paid to have hundreds of 501st members from all over the world join him and march in the Rose Bowl Parade that year.
Mandalorian Mercs in 2012 were recognized as the premier Mandalorian costume group by Lucasfilm. About a year later, became the first costuming group that has their own charity, Little Warrior International. So the costumes that we make and we do in the charitable events that we do also go back into the costuming group and go into charity as well.
Initially, everybody gets into it because they want to be a plastic spaceman. And then people stay involved because they're out there doing things with hospital. And we would go from room to room. The hospital staff would check that the child wanted to be bothered, because we can be scary. And there was one, they said, "We know you're going to want to see this kid, but we're not going to ask, we're not going to say anything, but we know this kid's going to want to see you guys." And I just happened to be the first one in the room. And he's laying in the bed. He's got Star Wars figures. He's got Star Wars Legos. He's got a couple of books. Star Wars is on the television. And so I walk in, and I've got another Stormtrooper and Darth Vader and Boba Fett. And to watch the transformation on that kid's face from how terrible he obviously felt to being thrilled and completely forgetting his predicament at the moment is something I'll take with me for the rest of my life. I can't even describe how that moment made me feel. Once you do something like that, you say, well, it's cool to be a spaceman, but it's better to be a spaceman that goes out and helps people in the community.
Would you say that you're done?
Oh, I'm never done. It's always a work in progress.
Good evening and welcome to a very special edition of Inside Texas Tech.
Once you become part of the Red Raider family, it's like forever.
Inside Texas Tech, Thursdays at 7, only on Texas Tech Public Television.
Your favorite PBS shows, ready to watch when you are. Anytime, any place. Find more ways to explore than ever before.
Several years ago, the person who's now CEO and the founder of the Actors Hall of Fame, Rusty Citron, connected with me through my work in the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival. I've worked there since the late 90s, primarily beginning with criticism and dramaturgy. Rusty heard about my work, and he was just a producer in LA with a dream of starting an Actors Hall of Fame. So for years, he would come in as my guest and see what we were doing educationally. So he gathered a lot of money for the Actors Hall of Fame, but he wanted it to be different than other Hall of Fames. He wanted it to have a strong community purpose. He wanted it to right educational wrongs. He wanted to create opportunities for young people to work on film, for young people to learn about the arts. So he and I talked about this years ago. We put together a group of potential board members to help select the first inductees for the Actors Hall of Fame. And then because of a little sickness on his part and because of lack of funding, that disappeared. And last year, I got a call, and he said, you know, my dream has become a reality, and I would love you to be my guest based on how much work you've done for the Institute. He flew my wife and I down there and rented a car and invited us to the induction, and they were inducting Meryl Streep and Morgan Freeman and Olivia de Havilland and just big names like that. It was lovely. I didn't know, but at the time I was being honored for my educational work at the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival, so it was a surprise. So I was one of 3 honorary inductees who aren't actors per se, but who work in community activism and education. So that was a surprise. That was really nice. Since then, he's talked to me a lot. We found out that our department is one of the first departments in the country to have a required community activism course. We put together a course called Theater and Dance in the Community. Every one of our degree students has to take it. Our BAs, our BFAs, our Masters of Fine Arts, and our PhD students. They work with us for a semester. We teach them how to work in the community. We teach them engagement sort of strategies. We end up throwing them out into various community boards. So one of them, 2 of them, 3 of them were working at the Autism Center, Guadalupe Somerville Parkway, the Lubbock Transition Center, Dunbar. So they're all around, and Rusty was just super intrigued by the fact that we want our students, if they learn theater and dance, to be responsible to the community in which they live. So the more he found out about our program, the more he liked it. He created a piece called Drama Notes, and he wanted to feature the best theater and dance programs in the country. He and the board centered on us. I think kickstarted by this community activism class, but he also likes how many productions that we do, something like 13 a year. He likes how much new work that we do, and we thought that was impressive since Yale will be featured and Emerson will be featured down the line, but he wanted to kickstart the website featuring our program. And in some ways, the wording is very nice. It really talks about what makes us a prominent theater and dance program in the country. This university is trying to grow. Got a great president, a great provost, and they want to be 40,000 strong, in the next many years. So they look to chairs and directors of programs like myself to increase, if they can, their student body. Now, they're very helpful around here. Texas Tech is rare in that they don't ask you to increase the student body without giving you extra faculty. So since my 3 years, we've grown in faculty numbers and we've grown in staff numbers. So we can support more people. And this indeed will help us recruit. Because when you think about Texas Tech University and you think about engineering, some of the programs that make it a tech university, the arts aren't the first thing that come to mind. But in the 3 years that I've been here, we've really been growing. We have a great group of graduate students getting a very innovative PhD. And I think when this goes out to thousands of people, especially actors, very famous actors, it's going to, I think students around the country are going to see that we're a very viable program and an exciting program that's doing new things.
Trapped is a room escape game, meaning you have one goal, which is escape the room. You have 1 hour to do so. If you escape in under an hour, you have mastered the room and have won the game. If you have not yet escaped in an hour, I'll show you what you've missed and let you out. You will be locked in the room, but I will always be watching you via live feed in case anything goes wrong.
What are you guys expecting out of this?
I just want to have fun, trying to escape the room.
Yeah. Just a challenge. Teamwork, so hopefully you can do it.
This room's supposed to be about teamwork, so we'll get out.
What do you guys predict you'll do it in? Do you think you'll get out, and if so, how fast?
45 minutes.
God!
45 minutes, because we have an hour, we can get it done in 45 minutes.
So it's basically just a new form of entertainment that's really growing in popularity across the country. You can make a mess, move things, pick things up, just generally do whatever you need to do in order to attempt your escape. With the success rate of 42% for this room, a couple of hints I would give y'all: just try to communicate with each other as much as possible and work together. So I first got the idea when I was backpacking through Europe. I kept seeing these room escape games on the review websites, and my interest was piqued, so eventually I tried one, and it ended up being the most fun thing I did on my entire trip. So after that, I just started brainstorming, what if I could start my own one of these? and it led me here. Our current rooms are the laboratory and the haunted playroom. The laboratory is for bigger groups. It's kind of a World War II laboratory, experimental laboratory. Our other room, the haunted playroom, which we're in now, is kind of a creepier, more intimate experience. It's for smaller groups, and there's a lot of riddles, puzzle solving, and that type of thing. So that's what we have right now. So far, the reaction from Lubbock and the community has been excellent. I mean, everyone that comes in has a great time, and you know, it's been overwhelmingly positive so far. Everyone seems to enjoy it, and it's just such a new, exciting concept that it's hard not to have a good time. We're gonna see where it goes from here, but for the future, I might want to try to add a new room or definitely change the rooms that I have within 6 months or a year so that I have a constant rotation of new games. Next Halloween, we might have a Halloween-themed room, kind of like a haunted house. So it's just gonna keep changing, keep rotating new rooms. The hardest part about creating the puzzles is starting out, because when you first start a new room, it's like, where do I begin? So usually I kind of try to start in the middle, start with a good solid core, and then work my way out from there. And if I find that it's too long or too difficult, I can kind of chop some things out. If it's too short, I'll just add some clues in. I generally work like that.
It was a blast. I was like, wow. It's challenging. It's just, you don't really realize the time going by so fast.
To contact us, just visit trappedlubbock.com, or you can visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/trappedlubbock.
I always have a note card in my pocket that tells me what the date is. And I have to write down when I eat meals, because sometimes I might eat lunch 3 times because I don't remember that I ate already. The doctors say the brain can continue healing up to 2 years, but whatever is not back by that point is not likely to ever come back.
So you had your surgery in November of 2008, right?
Right. And so I'm going to have to live the rest of my life this way. And the thing that scares me the most is like the thought that I will wake up one day and I'll be 80 years old and I won't remember the last 40 years of my life.
Do you remember when you first came out of surgery?
I know that I used to always think that I was in San Francisco.
What are those things called? Do you remember?
Confabulations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember another confabulation that I used to have?
You used to think that your coworker Barbara was your mom.
Oh, that's right.
Even though she's a completely different race than you.
That's funny, yeah.
There was one point where you were confused because you thought we had broken up. And I would ask you, like, why do you think you're staying in my place? She's like, well, we're just cool like that.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's
after all you've been doing for me.
Thankfully, you got over that.
I'm thankful for that as well.
So is there any positive things that have come out of losing your memory? Or
well,
you can look back on?
I ran the New York City Marathon with you, my boyfriend. And one of the things that I asked you was to help me as a trick to not let me look at any of the mile markers along the way. And if I asked you how long we've been running, to always tell me 10 or 15 minutes. And it really worked like a charm. Yeah. And when we got to the end, you and I were running across the finish line. And as if on cue, I started crying my eyes out. I was so happy. You know, I have spent a lot of days since my injury comparing myself to what I used to be and feeling sad about the things that I've lost. But doing the marathon shows me that I still have a lot left in me.
I started as a singer-songwriter when I got up to Texas Tech. Previously in high school and middle school, I'd been in punk rock and heavy metal bands, and I decided I wanted to take a crack at writing my own songs. the angsty and angry sort of feel of punk rock and heavy metal just wasn't what I was feeling. So I turned to folk and country music. From there, I started meeting local musicians, particularly Red Shahan and Kenneth O'Mara, and they kind of steered me in the path towards the stylistic approach I'm going for today. It's Bury the Hatchet, and it all comes from one breakup in particular. Each song talks about different phases of that particular relationship and how it ended. The only song on there that just really has nothing to do with it is the Zombie song, and I just put it on there because it would be a funny sort of comical relief to the rest of the album. It's so dark for the first 40 minutes that you've got to have something in there that can break that tension. The trick to being a law student / songwriter is be willing to sacrifice lots of sleep, be willing to be tired all the time. Just love what you do for both, so you don't ever have to sacrifice for either. The album was released January 23rd at Blue Light. You can get Bury the Hatchet on both iTunes, Bandcamp. There's a way through Bandcamp that you can get physical copies mailed to you. At this point in time, I think you can get it at almost any digital medium, any digital radio type deal, Spotify, Last.fm, maybe Pandora, I have no clue. My producer and I, John Taylor, we're planning to start work on the next album in the next month, so you can expect something out. Well, it took me 2 years for this one, so we'll see. Maybe it'll take less time this time.